This is Jessica with Black Business Live. I am here with Kyle McCutcheon of the documentary Heart and Soul, the Dylan Kalambay story. I got it right. Okay, so Kyle, thank you for speaking with us today about the film.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us about how did you discover this story and what made you decide that this needed to be a documentary?
We discovered it through our director, Michael Hamilton, because his son went to Ridley College where Dylan was playing at the time. And him and I have collaborated on some other projects before, actually in basketball too. And he just said, hey, there's this incredible kid at Ridley College. I think you should hear about his story and see if this is something that, you know, our company, Game 7 Media, would be interested in.
Yeah.
And, you know, as soon as I heard that Dylan had gone through this heart transplant and 7 months later basically was back on the court, I mean, it just, I think anytime you tell anybody that, their jaw drops, right?
Yeah.
And then when you meet Dylan, because it's always, you know, some people just don't want to be on camera, or they're not necessarily the right person to tell that story visually and in an entertaining way. And after meeting him, it was just like, it doesn't matter how we get this done. It just has to be done. It has to be told, and I think it's, you know, not only to bring awareness for organ donation, but also just to bring awareness to an amazing kid that's done amazing things, and it's just a story that people needed to hear.
And the story, so where are we seeing the story from his journey? Because is it from after the surgery to up until now, or when you finished filming? Or, like, what is the time frame?
Yeah, so we really kind of pick up the story from his first game back.
Oh.
So the anticipation of coming back to play his first game. You know, obviously, you know, there's two things. We weren't aware of the story when it was happening, so there was other ways to creatively go back to that time, whether it's archival footage or images and stuff like that, or kind of people talking about it, like Dylan talking about it. So yeah, so we kind of pick up at the beginning of him coming back, which is, you know, it's a big moment right off the bat of like, is he actually going to be able to play?
Yes, and what would people expect seeing this film? Like, is there going to be information about donors or how you can get involved as well?
I think the way we approached it, and you know, a lot of it is through our director, Michael Hamilton, is, you know, first and foremost telling an incredible story and letting that be in the forefront. And our partners in this, in Canadian Blood Services, were very open to us kind of making sure that the story and what was happening to him was kind of the focus to get people talking about it. And then from there, it's our job in Canadian Blood Services and Dylan's and everybody else to kind of connect the dots of, this really touched me in a deep way. And I want to be able to do something about this. I want to participate. I want to make a difference. So I would say it doesn't really feel like a commercial in a lot of ways, right? Which is maybe more of the traditional way that you know, Canadian Blood Services might advertise. So it was a bit of a risk on their part. But I know, I mean, a lot of people have seen, a story can travel the globe, right? And so that was the approach with this, is more about the story, more about his life from his perspective, and then kind of let everybody get interested in how they can make a change through that.
You said this story was important to you. Was it personally important to you? Have you had someone close to you go through a similar situation where they may have needed a donor for an organ?
You know, I personally haven't.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a new world to me as well. Like, there's a lot of things, and I think, you know, some stuff that's in the documentary and some stuff that that isn't, that I learned along the way, that was just, you know, really eye-opening, and just about the process of, you know, from somebody's perspective of getting an organ to not really ever understanding who that organ came from, and that journey of, you know, who is part of this person that's inside of me and what happened to them. Like, it was a lot of the, like, open-ended questions that really drew me into this story. And yeah, I think that, you know, that when you start to get to know Dylan and some of the people involved and the people in Canadian Blood Services trying to make a difference, it doesn't really matter if you have it happen to you. It starts to become personal immediately because it affects you that much emotionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the donor that gave the or provided the organ, that story, that the whole the twist where it was Logan, the donor, who gave him had the crash, like the bus crash. So that story, is that included in the documentary as well?
So just to clarify, yeah, in the documentary, Logan Boulay, who unfortunately passed away in the Humboldt Broncos crash, he was a donor. He donated all of his organs to people, but it was not to Dylan. Yeah, Dylan, his happened a couple years after, so Dylan has a completely different donor.
Pardon?
He has a completely different donor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was. I thought he was the donor.
No,
okay.
he's not. He's not.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So part of what we wanted to do, because Dylan's still trying to connect with his donor.
Okay.
And that's his choice to Dylan's, but it's also the donor family's choice. And so what we wanted to do was give Dylan an opportunity to understand maybe why his donor family has not reached back out to him, or why this process is taking so long, because he really wants to meet his donor.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the crucial things within this process, is that what people don't understand is, you know, when you meet, like, especially if you're the donor family where you've lost somebody, you don't know who's on the other side, who received your loved one's organs. And so that's a really tough thing to think about. Do I want to meet them? Because they may not realistically all be you know, an amazing person like Dylan trying to make a difference. And so there's a lot of different things that go into that relationship. And I think hopefully that brings awareness to that aspect of it too, in the film, of what these people go through on both sides.
And what are the plans as far as distribution? Because we're seeing the film today at the world premiere, but what are your plans to getting it distributed?
So the whole point of this is just to make it as widespread as possible. So this is really fun to have a premiere and, you know, really recognize Dylan and the people involved. And, you know, this is just one way of bringing awareness. Canadian Blood Services is going to get their marketing team behind it, and they're going to put it out on their YouTube channel, so it's just available for everyone. I know that they're also looking into making this a part of high schools, so playing the video, talking about organ donation. There is a high school outreach program, and that is somebody that's getting involved and going to use this really as an educational tool. So I think the distribution and longevity of this is, you know, it's kind of endless. So the way we set it up, it's nice. Like, you don't have to pay to watch it. You know, everything's free. It's just whatever we can do to get this story out there. You know, you guys talking about it, anything we can do is great.
It's absolutely important, because I don't think there's enough information out there as being an organ donor. You know, you see it, but you don't really understand the stories behind it and how important and impactful it is on people's lives. So, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, this film gets out there to as many people as possible. Because, like, even myself, I've heard of being an organ donor before, but I just don't know what the details are. And just getting that information out there can change lives, can save lives, and it may be something I may consider for myself as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the craziest things that I found out about was that and this is why the conversation's so important, is that you can put yourself down as an organ donor, but if you pass, it's still your next of kin that decides if they're going to donate those organs. So a lot of what can happen is that you're listed as an organ donor, you pass, but then because that wasn't necessarily a conversation with your next of kin, and it's such a traumatic moment in their life, they decide, no, we're not going to do that. And that is even more of an issue when it comes to youth. And so, you know, part of this is really, and that's what Logan Boulay, that's why it was such an important story for us to include in this documentary and have Dylan meet them, because Logan had that conversation with his parents. So the minute that they knew that he had passed, first thing they said was, we gotta donate his organs. And that was ingrained in their mind from a conversation that they had. And it's a really tough conversation to have with, you know, somebody that's under 18, because you never want to think about that. But,
Yes.
you know, you take that time to have that conversation, and you know, you can save so many lives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for speaking with us today.
No, thank you for being here.
I'm looking forward to seeing this film and it changing more lives as it's being distributed. And it's amazing that it could be in high schools, because that's going to be educational to so many people. And yeah, it's a great thing that you're doing. Thank you.
Great, thank you.